Negative solidarity. This is the direct counterpart to positive solidarity, community, shared values, mutual affection. In negative solidarity, a group is held together not by what they love or believe in together, but by a shared antagonist, a common enemy, or a collective experience of hardship, oppression, or threat. The social bond is formed through a shared us versus them mentality. The negative bind toward the external force creates a positive cohesion within the group. Examples: rival street gangs who define themselves in opposition to each other. Political factions that are unified solely by their hatred of the opposing party. Employees who bond primarily over their shared frustration with a bad manager. Citizens of a nation unifying during a war against a common enemy. There are other examples, but it's to make a point. A profound shift in New Zealand's socio-economic landscape has broken the traditional social contract, the promise that hard work leads to security and prosperity. This breach is not an accident but a consequence of a political and economic structure that increasingly prioritizes private sector gains at the expense of the public, creating a deep and damaging disconnect between classes. This disconnect has tangible and severe consequences. It perpetuates inequality, it creates a self-reinforcing cycle where privilege begets more privilege, and poverty begets more poverty. It erodes social cohesion, the sense of being in it together breaks down, leading to widespread social distrust and conflict. It stifles economic mobility, it becomes incredibly difficult for talented individuals from lower income backgrounds to rise based on merit alone. It leads to poor policy. When the influential class is insulated from the struggles of the majority, they are more likely to create policies that benefit themselves, resulting in legislation that is ineffective or even harmful to the broader public. In short, this social disconnect acts as an invisible wall, creating parallel societies within a single nation and preventing the mutual understanding necessary to build a truly equitable world. The new working class, redefining the struggle. The traditional image of the working class, the factory or freezing works employee, no longer captures the full picture. Today, a new working class has emerged, defined not by manual labor but by precarious employment in the service economy. Their central political concerns, the cost of living, housing, and rental rights, highlight a system where the traditional pathway of a good honest job leading to a house and a secure life is broken, creating deep frustration and a sense of a broken promise. Who comprises the new working class? This group forms the engine of our modern consumer and service-based economy, yet they are consistently locked out of economic security. Its core includes the service sector workforce, hospitality workers, baristas, cleaners, retail staff, and care workers. The working poor, many of the above, earning at or near minimum wage, are unable to cover rising costs despite working full-time. Precarious and gig workers, couriers and drivers for platforms like Uber, who lack job security, sick pay, or basic employment rights. A diverse demographic, young people saddled with student debt, migrants vulnerable to exploitation. And a growing number of struggling middle professionals like teachers and nurses who are feeling the same financial pressures. The unifying thread, a shared experience of precarity. What binds this diverse group together is not a specific job, but a common economic and social experience. Precarity, the constant uncertainty of casual contracts, fluctuating hours, and unstable income. Financial stress, a life lived paycheck to paycheck, burdened by debt and an inability to save. The centrality of the housing crisis. Housing is the defining issue, whether through exorbitant rents, poor living conditions, or the extinguished dream of home ownership. Low collective power. Unlike the unionized laborers of the past, these sectors have low union density, reducing their bargaining power. Invisible struggles. Their financial stress is often masked by consumer goods purchased on credit, while they lack the assets and security to weather any unexpected financial shock. This widespread precarity is not just an individual hardship, it poses a systemic risk. A large segment of the population with no financial buffer makes the entire economy more vulnerable to shocks. Conclusion: a nation at a crossroads. In conclusion, New Zealand's new working class is a multi-ethnic, often young, service sector workforce. While employed, they are defined by economic precarity and are systematically locked out of the traditional markers of stability, most notably home ownership. They are defined less by what they do and more by their shared experience of financial insecurity in the modern economy. Addressing the needs of this large and growing class is essential to mending the broken social contract and building a more resilient and cohesive nation. Description: the provided text illustrates a powerful, real-world example of negative solidarity in action within New Zealand. The breakdown of the traditional social contract, the promise that hard work leads to security, has created a widespread experience of shared hardship and systemic failure. This common experience of precarity, financial stress, and a broken promise is forging a new social bond among the new working class. This group, which includes service workers, the working poor, and gig economy workers, is not unified by a shared trade, ideology, or cultural background. Instead, their cohesion stems from a shared antagonist, a socio-economic and political structure that prioritizes private gain over public good and perpetuates inequality. Their solidarity is negative because it is fundamentally a defensive alliance against a common set of adversities: unaffordable housing, exploitative employment, and a political system that seems unresponsive to their struggles. The us versus them mentality is not directed at another marginalized group, but at the influential classes and systems perceived to be responsible for their collective precarious state. This negative bind, born of shared frustration and a broken social contract, is what creates a positive, cohesive identity as the new working class.